Sue Reynolds with the American Student Achievement Institute, and this video is for schools participating in both redesigning school counseling and guiding all kids, and it's to help the steering teams from those schools get ready for their annual council meeting. So in this webinar, this video, we will do a lot of reviewing. We know a lot of you we haven't talked about for a year, or for some of you 2 years it's been. So we'll just review terminology and process and that kind of stuff. Then there's been a couple of changes that we'd like to talk with you about. One is a terminology change that's going to impact you as you do your annual meeting with your council. And then we've launched a new format for the online system that is really kind of cool. I can't wait to show it to you. So I think you'll enjoy that. And then the third thing we'll do is actually walk through your council meeting and give you suggestions for things and tools that you might do with your council. Okay, so let's look at that review. So terminology, just reviewing very quickly. There's a difference in guidance and counseling. We often talk about those two words as though they're one thing, guidance and counseling, but we use those words independently. So when we are in guidance mode, when we're delivering guidance activity, we're really in teaching mode. We're thinking ahead. This is what kids need to know. We're developing lesson plans and we're teaching them. Sometimes we're teaching kids in a group, so we're doing classroom guidance, or we've brought kids in for a group guidance. And sometimes we're teaching one-on-one, and so it can be individual guidance as well. So, but in guidance, we always know ahead what we're going to talk about. We're trying to teach something, and the activity is focused on teaching. Counseling, on the other hand, are responsive services. So counseling is when a student comes in, they say they have a concern, it's interfering with their learning, and so we're going in the counseling mode. We're responsive. So we might be doing individual counseling or group counseling or crisis counseling, but we're not in teaching mode, we're in responsive mode. Now there may be parts that when we're responding we end up teaching, but we don't know ahead of time what we're going to teach because we don't know what the presenting issues are going to be. So, okay, so that's the difference between guidance and counseling. And then we have advocacy activities where counselors are involved in promoting systemic change or being an advocate for an individual student. And then we have management activities which are legitimate use of counselors' time. It's when we manage our own programs. You know, if you don't have good management of your program, you're not going to have a good program. So management is really important. So common management activities are things like program development, personal development, what we're doing right now, networking, evaluation. These are all things that have to happen for your school counseling program to run effectively and smoothly. So and then finally, there's another kind of activity that is actually not part of the school counseling program, but they're things that counselors are sometimes asked to do, and we call those things non-program activities. So they are activities that do not help students master guidance standards or address a personal social issue that's interfering with learning. So there's all kinds of non-program activities. There's administrative tasks that have nothing to do with school counseling. There's record keeping, there's scheduling, and there's things like coordinating graduation or doing discipline. So these are good activities. I mean, somebody has to do them, but we just want it to be upfront with the idea that when school counselors are doing these things, they are not doing school counseling. Just like if a math teacher were doing these things, he would not be or she would not be teaching math. So, okay. So that's our terminology. Our beliefs, real quickly, is that in RSC schools, we believe that school counseling programs help students make sound choices, and as a result of those choices, our academic success will increase. So all of the RSC guidance activities and counseling activities are really focused at helping kids make good choices. So this is kind of the way it works. When students are involved in your guidance and counseling activities, they make better choices, and then achievement goes up. And then working that in the other direction, when we're designing our program, we start out with the academic goals of the school, and then we say, well, what choices would kids need to make in order to make that achievement? And then we design guidance activities to teach the kids the things they need to know to make those choices, or counseling activities to address issues that have come up in the student's life, social and emotional issues that are interfering with their ability to make choices. So, okay, our process, I'm not going to go through the whole process, but just, to remember, if we kind of wind our way through this, we started out working with your council, and we just did an introduction. Then we created a vision statement. Then we looked at, okay, what are our student choice goals, all the choices that we wanted kids to make. We expanded resources. How do we get more time? The more time we have, the more goals we can tackle. Then we, in step 4B, and this is where there's a little terminology change that I'll talk about in a minute, but we said, okay, given how much time and energy we have in step 4A, how many priority goals or focus goals can we really realistically hit hard in the coming year? And those became our priority goals. That's the terminology change I'll talk about in a minute, is now we're calling them focus goals. So once we knew what those goals were, those key goals, then we came down and did a root cause analysis to figure out what was getting in the way of those goals. We implemented activities then, which is what you've been doing for the last year or 2 years, to address the root causes. And then each year we're getting ready to implement the activities for the coming year. Okay, so our products. You have right now in your school, because you are a Gold Star school, you have belief statements, you have a vision statement, you have a mission statement, you have priority goals, you have goals and priority goals, and we're going to talk about creating focus goals today. It'll take less than a minute. And then root causes, you've got a list of things that you felt were getting in the way. And then you've got activities, and you've been implementing those activities all year. So, okay, so now here's a few new things. One is a terminology change. As we have worked with a lot of RSC schools and Guiding All Kids schools who have really dug in this year, we felt that we needed to look at our goals in just a slightly different way. So let me work through this, and then I'll show you how to make it happen in the online system. So our program goals, there's no change there. Program goals have always been all of the choices that students need to make in order to be successful during the time that they're in your school. So if you remember those program goals, that was a huge list. In a high school, you might have had, 75 different choices that kids need to make in order to be successful during their high school years. In an elementary school, you may have had 40 choices. So in our program goals, we don't necessarily have to be working on those things. We're just identifying what all the choices are that kids need to make. So no change there. That's how it's always been. We've always said that program goals are just the choices. We may be working on them, we may not, but those are the goals of our program, even if we can't work on them yet because we don't have enough time. Okay, so then we have a subset of all these choices called the priority goals. And this is where there's a little bit of a change. We're defining priority goals now as anything that you're working on. It's important enough that you're going to work on it. It's the priority goal. So even if it's not one of the things that you're going to hit big time, but it's just hitting something you're hitting in a small way, it's a goal that, yes, you are helping kids do that, maybe not in a huge way, but just somehow you are. Just because of the fact that you're working on it, you've given that choice priority. So any student choice that you're working on at all would be a priority goal. And then we said, okay, of all those things that you're working on, where are there just a few that you really want to hit hard? And so on those, we're calling those now focus priority goals. So the focus priority goals, you may only have one or two or three, or probably not more than 4 or 5. They're things that you are really nailing in your program, really trying to drive that data. So in the past, we didn't call these focus goals. We just called them priority goals. And then in the past, we didn't have this level called priority goal, which was anything that you're working on. So again, I'm just going to kind of run through that quickly. Program goals, every choice that kids need to make. Things you're working on, things you're not working on. Anything that you're working on is a priority goal. And anything that you're working on big time is now called a focus goal. So that's going to be key as you work in this next meeting with your council. So in the online system, I'll show you how to do this in a second. We just need to move your priority goals, which used to be the things that you wanted to work on big time, down the focus goals. It'll take you less than 30 seconds to do that, and I'll demonstrate with the school so you can see how to do that. Okay, so then the other thing that's changed is we have a new online system format that I think you're really going to like. So let me go out of the PowerPoint and we'll open up the school's website. Okay, so I'm logged in as a school that is we call them annual update schools. You're not to the point where we are renewing Gold Star yet. You're not a first year school. You're kind of in the middle between your first year, or when you last got your Gold Star, and when you're going to renew. So first of all, you'll notice that there are all these tabs up here that have never been here before. The tabs, what we've done is all of the foundations that you created appear here on the Foundations tab. So I'm going to click on Foundations, and you can see that everything that you've seen before: getting organized, building your council, collecting data, having that first council meeting, everything that you did in the last time that you got Gold Star, that is in this on this page, on this tab. So there's one new thing on this Foundations tab that I wanted to point out that we really worked hard on, and that is the counselor time use log. We have been talking for a long time about making that electronic, and it is now electronic. So no longer do you have to add up all those little boxes from the Excel spreadsheets or from a Word document. The computer will do it all for you. So make sure that if you're thinking about switching over to the electronic log, make sure that you watch this video that will tell you how to do it in the tools column, and then you can just get started with that. And if you have questions, call Debbie. One of the nice things about this is that because it's all electronic, we can give you tools to help you analyze your time use. So there's graphs and charts. The other thing we can do is, if there is more than one counselor in your building, the computer will add up together all of the time use from all of your counselors. So you can start to look at your department time use. I think that's really important. So that was one tool that's brand new. We've been talking about it forever. We finally got it done. It was a huge amount of work, yeah, so that's ready for you to use, and that would be on the Foundations tab. Then the Foundations tab takes you really through to goals, and then in terms of the activities, you'll see that we have several tabs up here. We've talked about this before, but we're really starting to equip you to look at different delivery methods. So on the counselor delivery method, this is where you'd go. Here's the Foundations again. Here is the planning activities, preparation, putting activities in, professional development, evidence. So really everything that was on the bottom of the page when you did this before is now on this counselor tab. So in combination, the foundations tab and the counselor tab is everything that used to be on the process page. So really nothing new. There's a few new reports, but I wouldn't worry about those until we do your renewal year again. Okay, but then you can see if you wanted to develop your a different delivery method, here's where the community would enter things, and to access that you would enroll in Guiding All Kids. Same thing with Teacher Advisor and the parent delivery method. But for schools that are involved in Guiding All Kids, we now have these tabs developed. Okay, so now when you log in and hit your process page, the computer will automatically take you to the annual update tab or the evaluation and sustainability tab. So on this page, this is basically your process page for this year to do an annual update with your council members. So one of the things that we want to make sure that you do is update your RSC uses page. So just click that, tell us how you're using RSC. And then also we want you to implement your planned activity. So if you click on this, it gives you a list of here are all of the planned activities, and here's what you said you were going to do in the past year. So, that's all there. Okay, so that's kind of, getting kicked off in the beginning of the year. Collecting data, we sent you an email about doing another student survey so that you could have follow-up data. If you haven't done a survey, if you could quickly, before school's out, at least survey randomly 30 kids in your school. Ideally, it would be 30 per grade level. Actually, ideally, it would be every kid in the building. But if you could get in 30 random kids across all grade levels by the end of the year, that would give you some data. Better than that, if you could get 30 randomly selected at every grade level before the end of the year, that would be great too. We know most of our annual update schools did survey, but if you didn't, it's not too late. Okay, so this is your annual evaluation and update council meeting. So this is that step. So what you would do is, first of all, we've got to pull together some data that you can go over with your council. So the first thing you're going to do is enter your activity completion, and you go into that tab, and here's all of those activities, and you're just going to check the ones that you said you were going to do. And watch this percentage right here. That will change as you ding these activities, and actually I see a typo here. This will change to 1718. So I'm going to hit the Spirit Committee. You can see this has changed to 4%. If I did Dare to Care, so every time I'm doing one of these, it's going to change the percentage of activities that you plan, that you actually implemented. So of course, ideally, we would want that to be 100%, and I think for a lot of you it will be 100% because you've fully implemented your program. If this number ends up being a small number, that would give you a clue that maybe you planned too much, and as you're doing your annual revision, you might want to pull back, maybe even take out goals or take out activities if you're biting off more than you can chew. So the analysis question, are you pleased with the percentage of activities planned for the year that you were able to implement? And then if not, what are you going to do differently? So, okay, so that's pretty easy. We're just checking off the activities that you did and then a quick analysis question. So that's step 2. Then here is where we need to make a little change to make sure that you have focus goals in. So I'm going to verify my focus priority goals. I click on this page, and what you're going to find is let me refresh this, sorry. You're going to find a, Oops, let me go back. I thought I must not have saved. I thought I took those out. What you will find is, hang on. Okay. What you will find, what you will find is that when you do this, there will be no, oh, I see what our programmer did. We actually did some updating on this today. How cool is that? Good. So what you will see here is that you have your priority goals. Very cool. Okay, so you have your priority goals, and what all you'll need to do is to say, and because of the way we did this before, these will be the goals that you want to work really, really hard on. So all you need to do is to switch these from priority goals to focus goals. All you need to do is check them and then save. Okay, so I'm going to go and do that. So I've checked focus goals. I'm going to hit save, and now that step is complete. So that's how easy it is to create those focus goals. It took me, what, 2 seconds? So when you open up that page, your priority goals will be there. Just check the ones that you want to be focus goals, which is probably going to be all of them, because by our definition before, priority goals were the things that you really, really wanted to work hard on. So we just need to switch those over to focus goals and then make sure you hit save. Okay, so I'm going to go back. Notice over here, instead of going to the process tab, I can go to my most recent tab, which will take me back to that evaluation tab. Now I'm going to verify the focus priority goal data targets. So I'm going to go in, enter that, and that brings up the report that you can see now. Here are those 4 focus goals. This is all work that you did before, where you put in data targets, and then the computer, if you gave the survey again, the computer will pull in the actual. So, if I look at this second one, demonstrate emotional safety skills, actual was 65, 72. They decided they wanted to kind of keep it up in that area, 70, not go downhill. They did go downhill a little bit, 68%. So during the council meeting, that's something that we'll talk about, is that 2% drop bother them, and yeah, so, yep, so, yeah, so, but if you've put a lot of activities in, if the school put a whole slew of activities in to help kids learn and demonstrate emotional safety skills, and this number didn't go up by a lot, then that would tell them that their activities, they didn't hit the mark. So, yeah, so something to look at. Okay, so that's where we're verifying what those data targets are for the focus goals. And then this is the main step where we're going to analyze your focus priority goals. So when you go in here, this is going to tell you, this will give you all the data. Actually, it's from the entry page where we just looked at. But if I look at this one, I look at this data. My target was 70. I got to 68. I was hoping to be at least at 70. The fact that I went backwards, I'm not happy about, maybe. And then I'm going to click on analysis. And basically this is just it asking me is, did you meet your goal? And what advice do you have for other schools who may also have this goal? So it may be something like, we did these activities, but it didn't work. Our data didn't drive. We wish we had done this differently. So, and then the same thing, if you click yes, you did meet the goal, then the question is, what advice do you have for other schools, that are reaching this goal, have the same goal, but now it's from the perspective of a school that was successful at doing it. All of your advice is in a searchable database, so schools that have the same goals as you can go in and see what advice you've given them. Then of course hit save at the bottom of that. Okay, so yeah, so you'd go in and do the analysis for each of your focus goals, and then that's it on the Align system, except for conducting advisory council, your annual council meeting. So I'm going to click on that icon. That will take me over to the manual page, so I can also get there through the left navigation bar. So okay, I'm on the manual page, and I can go back and click on foundations. Here's all that. I can click on counselor, and then, but here's where we're working now. So first thing I'm going to open up is the agenda for your council meeting. It's kind of a fun council meeting, I think. I like this one. So we're opening up that Word document, and in here we are starting out your meeting with just a welcome and introduction. We've allotted about 5 minutes for that. Then a big refresher. This is actually the same refresher that we just did just now together, with one exception. On your refresher, you're going to talk about your priority goals to refresh them to those 2 or 3 goals that you've been really working hard on. So your refresher will include your school's individual focus goals. Okay, and then we want the council to talk about 2 things. One is the program implementation, where you'll be saying, here's our list of activities, and here's the percentage that we actually got done. And so you'll be able to talk with them about, we just ran out of time, and then maybe they'll want to say, well, how can we get you more time? And you can go back into a time discussion. You can say, we were all so eager at the end of our first year that we just thought we could do way more than we thought we could do, and we probably need to scale that back for the coming year because we just really overextended ourselves. So, so there's lots of things that can come up in that discussion. Or you may say, we planned all these things, we got them all implemented, and it was great, we nailed it all. So, okay, so that's part of the discussion. Then the other part of the discussion with your council is we want to look at each of those focus goals. And then the questions are, to what degree did our activities make a difference? And what do we need to change? Do we need to swap out activities? Do we need to add more activities? Do we need to, maybe we've already reached the goal and we need to get rid of that goal altogether. So lots of different possibilities there. Okay, so there's that. I'm going to show you the PowerPoint presentation. It is here. So, let's see, slideshow from current slide. Okay, so introductions, everybody's just reintroducing themselves. A lot of our councils will stay the same, even multiple years. That is wonderful because then they design the program, they totally understand the program. If not, if you've had a big turnover, when we do the refresher part, you might need to really slow down on that to help people learn the terminology and kind of see what you're doing. Okay, so after introductions, we're going into the refresher. Here's the terminology that we just went through. Here's the beliefs, so we're going through those. And then the process, and you're just kind of talking through that process that you did when you earned Gold Star the last time. And then the products. And now, if you have a lot of members that are turned over on your council, I would actually distribute copies of these. Give them a copy of your belief statement, your vision statement, your mission statement. Give them a copy of at least your focus goals, the small number of goals. Give them a copy of the root causes report, and give them a copy of your activities report. And you might even take a time in your meeting if you have a lot of new council members to just go through all those reports. If you just have one new member, you might want to make a little packet, an introductory packet, but again, I would put those products in it because that product, those products define your program. Okay, so now in this section, we're talking about each of your focus goals because this is really what we want to do in this meeting. So this slide, you're talking about focus goal number 1, to increase the percentage of students who choose to, and then you're writing in whatever that is, okay, whatever that focus goal is. Then you're saying, here are some of the things, when we studied this before, just as a reminder, here are some of the things that we thought were getting in the way of this focus goal. This is why kids weren't choosing to make this choice. And as you write things in here, you're just putting an X in, this was a lack of opportunity or this was a lack of knowledge. So there's focus goal number 1, focus goal number 2. I put in 3 slides for you. If you only had 2 focus goals, take out a slide. If you have 5, add some slides. Okay, so we're just still reviewing, just going over, this is the work we did before, and we came out with these focus goals. So now we want to do an annual update and really see, did we make progress toward those focus goals? Are our activities working? So there's 3 questions. And so you're saying to your council, here's what we want to talk about today. Did we implement the program? Did the program make a difference? And what should we change? So first question is, do we implement the program? And here you're going to give them a copy of the activity completion report. And then you're asking these questions. What percentage of planned activities were fully implemented? Are you pleased? Are we pleased with that percentage? How might this have impacted our priority goals if you got them all implemented or did not? And what changes, if any, do we need to make in the number or the comprehensiveness of our activities? Did we overextend ourselves? Okay, so then the next question, the next discussion is, did the program make a difference? And what should we change? So we're starting out with focus goal 1. And we're just asking folks, to what degree are we making progress towards meeting the focus priority goal? So you're going to give them a copy of the report. And then based on our progress, should we edit the focus priority goal? Should we delete it? Or do we need to make changes in the activities that support this goal? So, so it's just kind of a discussion about each of the focus priority goals. So you'll have that report where they can see the data, and you'll just talk about, are things moving along? And if so, great. Do we want to move along faster? Should we do something different? Did we not move along? And do we need to look at something differently? So, okay. So, and then the last thing for that focus goal, for focus goal 1, we're looking at, we have new student data now. We're looking at the root cause analysis report again, and we're saying, let's look at all these root causes. Is there anything new that jumped out that may be impacting our focus goal 1? And so you're looking through and seeing, is there anything in there that's not already identified as a root cause that is, all of a sudden sprung up as a root cause that we need to be addressing? So that's basically it. I mean, for each of your goals, we're looking at, are you moving in the right direction? Are your activities working for you? If not, how do we tweak those activities? New activities, old activities, revised activities. And another possibility would be to just get rid of the whole goal. It's perfectly okay to say, man, we way overextended ourselves. And, we had 7 focus goals, and in reality, we probably should have had 3. And then take some of those focus goals out. So, okay. So here's focus goal 2, same procedure. Focus goal 3, same procedure. And again, if you have more than 3 goals, put in additional slides. If you have fewer than 3 goals, then take some of those slides out. And that's it. So you're telling your council thank you, and that the steering team, you'll use their input to update the focus priority goals and the activities for the coming year. So what we've done is we've taken your program, the way it was designed for this year. We looked at new student data in the updated root cause analysis. We looked at goal data, your focus goal data, and we just kind of said, you know, how are things going? And we're making tweaks as we go, kind of an in-flight adjustments to move you toward reaching those focus goals. So, okay, that is it. I think there's one other slide on here. Nope, that's it. So let's see what questions you have. Again, I'm really thrilled to be able to provide these tools for you so that you can have these annual discussions and kind of be doing in-flight adjustments each year, looking at new student data, new goal data, and you know, just asking yourself, how are things going? Are we moving in the right direction? So, okay, Debbie, anything you want to add or any questions come up that we need to address?
Well, one thing I would add is make sure that you check out those new tools, because they do auto-populate other areas of the in the system that you'll be using in the future. So I think they're really great tools. We've had some really great feedback on them. One question is, I'm still having trouble accessing the counselor perception report. When will this be available?
Oh, good. So we're working on that. So here's what the situation is. And Debbie, there's a lot of background noise on you. You might want to mute real quick. Thank you. Okay. So here's the situation. As we were working with schools this year, a light bulb went off that, quite frankly, I'm really surprised that this light bulb hadn't gone off before for us. We were working with a lot of elementary schools this year that had one counselor. And as we looked at that perceptions data, all of a sudden we realized that anyone who had access to that data, like your steering team members, anyone who had access to that data could figure out who the kids were talking about in a school that just had one counselor. And our rule of thumb is that we never release data unless the N is at least 10. So if there are 10 counselors in your school, the data from the survey where we ask kids, what do you think of your school counselor? If there's 10 counselors in your school, you can see that data. If there's not 10 counselors, which would be probably all of you, if not most of you, what we're in the process of doing is putting a step on the process page that says that somebody from your school will sign off on, that says all of the counselors in our building have agreed to make this data public. And you know, you'll type in your name to indicate, you know, who has that. I think we will provide for you a Word document where the counselors can sign off that they give their permission for that data to be public. And then if a counselor says no, there's only 2 of us, people can figure out that, you know, it's me and I don't want anybody to do that, or there's only 1 of me, then they won't sign that form, and you won't be able to let us know that all the counselors said that that was okay. So we're in the process of that. I really expect that to be, it's actually now come up very high on the to-do list. So I would think in the next week, we'll have that ready to go for you. So yeah, so that's why we don't like releasing data when the N is less than 10, and actually we don't. And this one just kind of slipped through. It didn't occur to us that, you know, the counselors, we should be counting the counselors in your school before we release that data. So good question, and And I apologize that you haven't been able to see that data immediately. But we're working on that. We'll get it to you real soon. So, okay, good question. Very good question. Debbie, other things or?
Trudy asks, will you email this form to us to sign off on it?
We'll put it on the process page, but we'll send you an email saying that it's there. So as soon as it's live and good to go, we'll send you an email that lets you know how to access it. Yeah.
And that's all the questions that I have right now, or that I'm seeing. But would you like to remind them when they would be renewing?
Okay, yeah, so again, on renewal, when Debbie and I are talking about this, we always have to write it down on paper because I think it gets kind of confusing. So the way I always do it is I write down, okay, if you worked on Gold Star, let's say in 16, 17, then there would be 2 years off. So 17, 18 would be off, 18, 19 would be off, and then the next year when you would come in to do the renewal would be 19, 20. So it's always, you're working 1 year, then there's 2 years off, and then the next year you're renewing. So yeah, so you can figure it out that way. And again, if you want to just verify that with Debbie, we can do that. I literally write it down every time I'm talking to school, just so I make sure I get the 2 years off right. And then in those off years, there's no requirements, but just good practice. We think this annual update with your council is a really good idea. The other thing too is that for schools that don't do that, then you're coming in and it's been 3 years since you talked to your council about this stuff, and that's a long time. But if your council members, are coming back once a year, I think it really kind of engages them in the process because they see that you're doing the things that they talked about, and now you're seeing them implement everything that you planned. They get to see them implement. So I think just in terms of engagement, it's just a really good idea. But it's not a requirement. For Gold Star, you're basically once every 3 years. And there's no submissions to us in these off years or annual update years. There's no submissions. You can approve or not us. We're just giving you tools so that you can have these annual discussions. So, yeah. Questions, comments, Debbie?
So we're unable to hear you now.
Not even. Oh, that's because. Can you hear me, but I'm just muffled?
We can hear you now.
Okay. Debbie, that is what we thought it is. It's the fan on my computer that makes the background noise. It just went on. Were you able to hear my explanation about 1 year on, 2 years off?
Yes, we did get to hear that.
Okay. Okay. Are there any other questions?
Nope, other than we can't hear you.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to count to 10 and type in something real quickly if you want to ask another question. If not, we'll close. And again, call Debbie, call us if you have questions, because we really want to support you. We love this work, and you guys have worked so hard to get your Gold Star, and we know you've been working really hard to implement it. So we want to be here to help as much as we can. So last chance for questions. Debbie, are we good?
We are good.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. And we won't talk again before your summer. So have a wonderful, wonderful summer. And then next year we'll do an email to kick things off in October. We'll do an email to remind you to survey in January. And then we'll do another webinar at the end of the year before your next annual council meeting. If next year is your on year and you're renewing next year, we'll be sending out an email in the next few days about how to get registered for that. That email will go out over Counselor Talk. Plus, we'll send it to the counselors on the steering teams that are from our data are set to renew next year. So, okay, sounds good, everyone. Have a great summer, and we'll talk with you next fall.